The first scream split the quiet country road like a thunderclap at noon, sharp and raw, the kind that doesn't ask for help, but demands it. Dust hung in the air, sunlight flashing off chrome jackets and wooden bats. And in the middle of it all, a farm girl's twin dropped to her knees, the world suddenly too loud and too small. What the bullies didn't know, what they couldn't possibly know, was that they had just touched the wrong life. The shadow of a woman who had survived deserts and jungles, loss and silence, and who had learned long ago that fear could be turned into a weapon for good. This was the day the past came walking back in boots, under a wide-open sky. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Journal if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us what courage really looks like. They called her a farm girl because it was easy, because labels stick faster than truth. Mara Collins had grown up on a spread of land that smelled like hay and rain, hands toughened by fences and seasons, heart softened by the quiet routines of care. She wore flannel because it worked, jeans because they lasted, and a braid because it kept hair out of her eyes when the wind kicked up. Her twin sister Lila shared her face and her laugh, but not her strength. Not the way Mara carried storms inside her chest without letting them spill. Lila had stayed close to home, tending the family farm after their parents passed, while Mara had left years ago with a duffel bag and a promise she didn't explain. The town watched her go, and stopped asking questions when postcards never came. The bullies came from the next county over, bored and loud, and convinced that the world owed them entertainment. They cruised the back roads in jackets stitched with letters that meant nothing to anyone who mattered. Laughing at fences, at old trucks, at girls who didn't fit the picture they carried in their heads. When they saw Lila walking home with a sack of feed slung over her shoulder, they saw a target dressed in plaid. They didn't see the tremor in her hands as she tried to pass. They didn't see the twin bond stretching like a wire across miles, humming with warning. Mara had come home that morning unannounced, the way she did now. The farmhouse still creaked in the same places. The sky was clean and blue, the kind of day that makes you believe nothing bad could happen if you keep moving. She had planned to surprise Lila with lunch and a laugh, maybe fix the loose hinge on the barn door. She parked by the road when she heard the shout, when the sound of cruelty cut through birdsong. The years fell away in an instant. Her breath slowed, her eyes narrowed. Training took over. Not to hurt, not to destroy, but to assess, to protect. The scene ahead was chaos pretending to be a joke. 4 men circling Lila, one swinging a bat like it was a toy, another pointing and jeering, their voices carrying in the open air. Lila's face was pale, fear bright as glass. Mara felt something old and dangerous rise, a memory of long days, under the sun in places without names. Of being taught that the most important mission was getting everyone home. She stepped forward into the road, boots steady, shoulders squared, the farm girl silhouette that made men underestimate her. The bullies laughed harder when they saw her. Twins confused them. It didn't matter. Mara didn't shout. She didn't threaten. She moved with the calm of someone who knows how fast things can go wrong, and how to slow them down. She put herself between Lila and the bats, one hand reaching back to anchor her sister, the other open and low, a universal signal that meant stop if you understood it. The men didn't. One lunged, the bat cupped the air. Mara shifted, guiding the swing past her shoulder, using the man's momentum against him, without spectacle, without anger. Dust puffed, a bat hit the ground, the sound was loud in the quiet day. The others hesitated. Bullies live on momentum, on the belief that no one will push back. Daylight makes lies easier to see. Mara spoke then, not words meant to wound, but instructions meant to end it. She named distances, told them to step back, told them to leave. Her voice carried authority earned the hard way. One man rushed anyway, rage masking fear. Mara redirected him too, not breaking bones, not spilling blood, just removing the ability to keep hurting. The road felt suddenly bigger. Lila clutched Mara's sleeve, shaking. Sirens came faster than anyone expected. A neighbor had seen the commotion and done the right thing. The men backed away, bravado leaking out of them like air from a tire. They tried to laugh it off, tried to tell a story where they were still in control. The truth sat heavy on the road between them. When the sheriff arrived, the scene was plain. Bats on the ground, a shaken farm girl, a twin standing like a fence post, unyielding. Statements were taken, names were written down, consequences started their slow walk toward the men who had never expected to meet them. After, when the dust settled and the sun kept shining as if nothing had happened, Mara sat with Leela on the farmhouse steps. Leela cried then, the delayed release of fear, the kind that waits until it's safe. Mara held her, rocking slightly, breathing with her until the shaking eased. She felt the weight of years press in. She had left to become something she thought would keep people safe at a distance. Coming home meant facing the truth that danger doesn't respect geography. It shows up where it thinks no one is watching. The town learned quickly. Stories traveled faster than tractors. People who had nodded politely before stopped to ask questions. Who was Mara Collins really? Where had she learned to move like that? She didn't answer. She fixed the barn hinge. She mended fences. She took Lila to town for ice cream in the bright afternoon, letting normalcy stitch itself back together. At night, memories pressed in, but the dawn came gentle, as it always does when you let it. The men faced charges. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cinematic in the way movies pretend justice is. It was paperwork and court dates and the long lesson of accountability. One of them wrote a letter months later, a messy apology full of excuses and a hint of understanding. Mara read it once and handed it to Lila. Forgiveness, she knew, wasn't something you force. It grows when it's ready. Mara stayed. She taught Leela how to notice the small things that keep you safe, not to live afraid, but aware. She volunteered at the school, helping kids learn discipline that built rather than broke. She fixed more than hinges. She rebuilt trust, one ordinary day at a time. The farm thrived. The fields turned green under the same wide sky that had watched everything happen. If this story is touching you right now, if it's reminding you of someone you love, or a moment you survived, please take a moment to engage with this video. Your likes, comments, and shares help stories like this reach hearts that need them. On a warm afternoon near harvest, Mara and Leela walked the fence line together, sunlight turning dust into gold. The road was quiet. Birds lifted and settled. Leela laughed, a sound that carried farther now. Mara watched her sister and felt the deep, steady satisfaction of a mission completed the right way. Not with force alone, but with presence, with the courage to step forward in daylight and say enough. Before the ending, please comment and tell us what part of this story stayed with you the most, or share a moment when kindness or courage changed your life. The bullies had picked the wrong twin, yes, but the lesson went further than fear. It reached into a town and shifted something small and important. It reminded people that strength doesn't always shout, that protection can look like open hands, that even in the brightest day, the bravest thing you can do is stand between harm and the ones you love.